Sometimes life knocks you down, but staying there isn't really an option. This podcast is real talk, actionable tools, and zero sugarcoating so you can move forward and take control of your life. Today we are talking the hidden cost of keeping your options open. Oh, let me ask you something. How many times have you said, I'll just keep my options open for now? Sounds like a good idea. Well, it sounds smart, sounds responsible, sounds like you're being flexible and strategic and in control. You're not. Most of the time you're keeping your options open just because you're scared. You're scared of saying, I don't want to commit. And what if I get this wrong? And you know what? Here's the problem with that. Every time you keep your options open, you're also keeping your progress closed. Let me say that again. Every time you keep your options open, you keep your progress closed, because you don't make a decision either way. I see it everywhere. People sitting on the maybe zone fence. Maybe I'll start that business. Maybe I'll leave my job. Maybe I'll have that conversation. Maybe I'll invest. Maybe I'll get serious about my health. And while they're sitting there, nothing moves. And not because they don't know what to do, but because they just don't want to shut the door on the other options. And when I say I see this everywhere, I don't just mean stuff like starting a business or leaving a job. I mean real everyday moments where people sit in silence and things are quietly eating away at them. It's not just starting a business. It's lying in bed at night thinking, I know I'm so capable. I'm capable of more than this. So why am I still here? It's not just about not posting on social media. It's typing something out, reading it, deleting it because you're worried about what people will think. Worried no one will care. Or worse, they will care. It's not just an investing in yourself. It's hovering over that payment button. What if I waste money? What if I don't follow through? What if? It's not having conversations. It's replaying conversations in your head for 3 days. Crikey, are we all a little bit guilty of that one? And just trying to find the perfect thing to say and then saying nothing. It's not just your health. It's not just, I'll start Monday and over again. When nothing changes, nothing changes. Because when nothing changes, nothing will change unless you do. And if we're being really honest, sometimes it's a relationship. Staying when you know it's not right. Or leaving when you know you should, but you don't. But you keep telling yourself, I'll just wait a little bit longer. Now, these aren't dramatic decisions. They're smart, they're constant, they're draining ones. And this is where people get it wrong. They think they're being careful. They think they're being smart. And they think they're doing the right thing. But what they're actually doing is avoiding the emotional cost of making the decision. Because every one of these moments comes with something uncomfortable. Comes with being judged, comes with getting it wrong, comes with losing money, comes with disappointing someone, stepping into the unknown. So instead of choosing, they sit in maybe, because maybe feels safe in that moment. But over time, it chips away at your confidence. I'm going to say this in a different tone, but over time, it chips away at your confidence, it drains your energy, and it keeps you exactly where you are. People aren't stuck because they don't know what to do. They're stuck because the decision costs them something. Oh, how about that? The decision is going to cost you something, but it's going to give you progress. So it might feel like it's stopping you something, but it is going to give you progress. So here's the truth that most people won't say out loud. Clarity comes from commitment. It starts showing up as being a clear path once you start taking the steps toward it. So clarity comes from commitment, not before it. People think, I'll decide once I'm sure. No, you won't. They think that they'll feel sure once they've got all the information, but you feel sure after you decide. And I can give you a real life version of this. I was talking to someone recently, successful on paper, doing okay, but stuck. And when we dug into it, there was actually a lot going on. They had about 5 different decisions that they couldn't actually choose, that they wouldn't commit to. So growing their business, starting something new, partner with someone, sell or pivot, or just cruise for a bit. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a great position to be in. Options, opportunities, freedom. But in reality, they were exhausted because every decision they made, they second-guessed. Every move forward, they diluted by thinking about the 4 other paths that they could have gone on. So instead of going all in on one thing, they were going halfway on everything and getting nowhere. And that's like trying to build 5 houses at once and only ever laying the foundation. You've got land everywhere with bits of foundations, but you can't live in anything. That's kind of not really a great place to be in. Another way to look at it is like standing at a fork in the road. And instead of choosing a path, just setting up camp in the middle. Feels safe, but you're going nowhere. So the real cost of that, and let's call this out properly because it's where it really matters, the cost of keeping your option open is lost momentum, because you never fully commit. Mental fatigue, oh my goodness, what a big one. Constant second guessing. Missed opportunities because decisive people move forward. Watered down results. Half effort, half outcomes. Zero identity because you're never fully that person. Oh, and you ready for the big one? You'll never build confidence because confidence comes from backing yourself, and you have to back yourself. So let's look at your life for a second. Where are you doing this? Is there anywhere in your life you're doing this? You're sitting on a small decision and you already know the answer, but you're keeping it just as a wee backup plan, just in case. You're not going all in because you need that escape route, that safety feeling, holding on to something that isn't working because choosing something new, is hard. Be honest. You know what? When I say be honest, I mean be honest at the fact that this isn't a strategy. It's fear with good PR. And, as I talk through those things, I've been guilty of all of them and sometimes some of them more often than others. And I think we can all fall into that trap. Next week, I'm going to talk through once you do make the decision and you start backtracking on it, because that's another thing that happens. But this week, I really want you to think about how and where in your life you're leaving the gate open. You've got that plan B, you've got other options just in case, because when you realize that that's actually holding you back from really great direction, momentum, traction, and that success that you're after in life, you'll realize that it's time you just started closing off. Yes, I'm going that way. I'm doing that. So what do we need to do about it? Well, we need to take control. We need to pick the path, knowing it might not be perfect. You're not choosing the perfect option. You're choosing a direction. That's it. Close the door, at least temporarily, okay? Don't panic. It's just a temporary close. And this is the part that most people won't do. You also need to stop entertaining other options. Not forever, but long enough to actually make something happen. Because divided attention equals divided results. And set a commitment window. And this is gold. Say to yourself, I'm doing this for 90 days, just 90. It's not the end of the world. I'm doing it with no distractions, no plan B, no constant pivoting, just focused action. And then back yourself properly, not halfway, not I'll try. Decide like you mean it, because the energy you bring to the decision determines the results you're going to get from it. So I'm going to go through those again, the things that you need to do to fix when you're sitting in that indecisive moment and you're leaving the gate open because you won't commit and you're leaving your options open. Pick the path and realize it won't be perfect. Now I want you to understand something about the brain. Once you choose something, your brain will look for every reason to make it right. So it will likely feel right within time. Don't second guess. Just think, yeah, actually my brain will show me the path. It shows you opportunities, because you might remember the analogies I've used in the past about you buy a new car and you're driving down the road and then you only notice that car everywhere. It's like the blue BMW. I used to have a blue BMW, and when I got the blue BMW, I didn't realize how many blue BMWs there were on the road. So my brain started looking for them. So when you make a decision, your brain will start looking for answers for you. That's just exactly what happens in your brain. It is the exact same thing. So pick the path, knowing it might not be perfect, but your brain's going to help you along the way and you are going to be moving in a direction. The next thing is close the door on those other ones, just temporarily, if that makes you feel better. But that's the thing that most people won't do. So you need to stop entertaining the other options, not forever, but just long enough to actually make it happen. Remember, divided attention equals divided results, and you want great results. So give it great attention and set yourself a commitment window. We use this in our mentoring program, 90 days. Be all in for 90 days. When they're finding a site in property development, go hard for 90 days. Crikey, what a difference that makes. Giving it that amount of time and giving your brain that end point, your brain will love you for that. It likes to know that this isn't forever, because it might find it initially a little bit stressful. It's just 90 days. And the momentum and traction that you will get in that 90 days will be phenomenal. So no distractions. Think of the book, The One Thing. Just focus on that one thing. No B plan thinking. No constant pivoting. Just focused action for 90 days. You will be, honestly, overwhelmed with your progress. And then back yourself. Not halfway, all the way. No, I'm going to try. Oh my goodness. I'm going to do. You need to do. Decide like you mean it, because the energy you bring, remember, the energy you bring to that decision is going to determine the results that you get. So bring energy. And now remember, I talked about it last week, my new book, 3, 2, 1, Done. If you're struggling with the decision, take 3 slow breaths. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. That's the box breathing. Or just breathe in slowly, breathe out slowly. Just 3 breaths. Just calm the brain down from the crazy thinking. And then just go down to these 2 options. There's this option or this option. And remember, none of those options are I'm not going to do it. And then choose one. 3, 2, 1. Choose one, then act. And it actually means that you've made the decision, you'll move, you'll act, it'll be done, and you will be on the road to getting it right, on the road to achieving that thing that you want, on the road to more clarity, to a less cluttered brain. Remember, every time you have indecision, every time you don't make those decisions, you leave your options open. Remember I talk about the open loops? So the open loops in your head, every indecision is just like an open loop. So it's constantly searching for an answer. I liken that to when we go fishing on the boat and I take my cell phone and it's constantly searching for a Wi-Fi signal if we've gone too far off the shore. And my battery just drains. And that's the same thing that's happening when you have so much indecision. Little things. Shall I do that? Shall I do that? I'll just wait. I'll leave it. I'll keep my options open. Don't. Just decide. You're just wasting your battery because you might think, oh, it's just about, starting the business, or will I send that business email, or will I do social media posting, or will I sign up for that course, or will I join the gym, or will I let my child go to that school or that school, or whatever the decision is that you're stuck in your life, or that you're sitting on the fence on, or you're leaving your options open for. Whatever that is using energy, and you have it in more than one area, like I said, so that it's going on in so many areas of your life that you are, believe it or not, exhausting yourself. Do you ever get home and think, oh my goodness, I'm exhausted and I'm not even really sure why? Half the time it's the energy from those open loops, from the undecided decisions that you have in your head, from all of those questions that just need to be decided, and so you can move on. When you do that, you'll have so much more energy. You'll go forward in life so much faster, and you will just feel so much better. There'll be momentum like you wouldn't believe. So the bottom line, keeping your options open feels safe, but it's actually what's keeping you stuck. People who've moved forward in life, they're not the ones with the most options. They're the ones who choose and commit. Just choose and commit. The other thing you don't want to be doing is asking other people opinions, because remember, the answers they give you, their opinions are based on their life. The only people have a last minute rant here, but when we ask somebody else's opinion on what they think you should do, remember they look at it from their eyes. And you have to remember, if they are impacted at all by that decision, they will choose the one, they can't help it. They will choose the one that's best for them. That's the great thing about a coach, because they aren't directly impacted by your decision. They will just go with the thing that you know. Most of the time, you know the answer, and it's other people's opinions that will cloud your judgment, or somebody said something and you've hung on to it. So when you think about coming to an answer, the best thing you can actually do to ask yourself, 3 breaths, go down to 2. Go down to 2 choices. How do you do that? Ask yourself, what are my 2 best choices? Don't take on board anyone else's opinion. Think to yourself, I actually know this answer. Write them down. Okay, they're out of my head. Look at them, then choose one. A very strong coaching tip that I have used forever, and I learned from David Rock, neuroscientist, fantastic training. That was years ago when I did my coach training. And I used it the other day, and because I've told Bob about it, he knows, and he kind of laughs at it. But until you've experienced it, you don't actually realize how powerful it is. When somebody says, I don't know, which is a classic answer because we have cognitive miser theory, our brain just wants to use the least amount of energy. So when somebody says, I don't know, the best thing you can do, not forcefully, just in a very conversational way, is say to them, so if you did know, what would the answer be? You need to say it in that tone so it's not sarcastic, because if you say that and then sit with the pause and just wait. Too often people will jump in there, mainly you asking that question, because we don't like silence. But a great way to coach is, if you did know the answer to that question, what would it be? And just wait. And they will tell you the answer. So when I said I used it last week, I had my little 5-year-old grandson over from New Zealand, and we were playing. It was pretty hectic for a week. It came up, I did ask him a question, and I don't know, like kids always say, I don't know. And I just said exactly that in that way. I said, if you did know, Charlie, what would the answer be? And Bob started laughing because he knows that it's a technique, and he didn't realize that when you're being asked that question, you don't actually realize you're being asked that question. And so Charlie didn't realize he was being asked. And he answered it, but I had to stop Bob from laughing. I had to go, stop. And then we just had to sit with nothing. So I challenge you to give that a go. If you're talking with somebody, they ask you your opinion, and your ego's not too big where you could say, I don't know, I don't really have one. What are your thoughts on that? And then if they say, I'm not too sure. Well, if you did know, what would it be? Honestly, it's an amazing question. Anyway, so that's how you can even ask yourself, I do know the answer, so what is it? You could ask yourself that and sit with it long enough without thinking of what other people said, how it impacts you, or what's best for you and your life and your people. So, lovely people, that's your challenge for the week. There's kind of a couple in there. If you're stuck on it, 3, 2, 1, done. 3 breaths. Take it down to 2 choices by asking yourself honestly, and then making a choice and just, down to 2 choices and take 1 action. Because I know that you already know what the answer is. So just pick it. Then close the door on the alternatives. It's not for life. Okay. It's just for a time. And then back yourself and then move, because the life you want is not sitting on the maybe pile. It's on the other side of the decision you've been avoiding. All right. I hope I've inspired you to take some action this week. Next week, as I said, we're going to talk about when we've made the decision and we start backtracking, because that can happen. And I've got some fabulous tips there and some great reasons why. But anyway, as per usual, I would love for you to text a friend, tell them how amazing they are. Also share this podcast. And thank you for the people who commented on YouTube. One of you won a book. So remember, the first YouTube comment for the next few weeks gets a book. But it was great to see that people are commenting. So I hope this has been inspirational for you and you have takeaways that you will move forward in your life with. Have a fabulous week, and I'll catch you next week. Decide this week, you're going to listen next week. There you go. Take away the indecision and commit. See you soon. Bye.